breeder is about to put in her bid in a Stallion Service Auction. If she wins, she will pay only half the stud fee. However, it could end up being the most expensive breeding of the year. Why? What could happen? Before we get into today's topic, if what you're interested in is the practical, scientific, and sometimes emotional aspect of breeding horses, you've come to the right channel because that's all I talk about, so come along if you like. I will share with you 3 stories that I think will make very clear the things that you need to check before you bid on a particular stallion. One year, I got the winning bid, and when I contacted the stallion in early May to let them know that I was going to breed my mate sometime in early June, they told me that they had decided that this stallion would be competing this year. That means that June and July were blackout date, meaning it was not going to be available. So what they offered is that I could breed to that stallion with frozen semen. The problem is this mare that I had in mind for that stallion was not a good candidate for frozen semen, and second of all, this was the first year the stallion was going to be used with frozen. I didn't even know what the quality of the frozen was going to be. So in that case, I declined. I walked away from the breeding. Second story comes to me through one of my breeder's friends. So they had actually won the bid on a really popular stallion, meaning the bid had gone pretty high, not quite the full cost of the breeding that they would have paid if they had gone through a normal contract, but pretty darn close. And then she called me about a week after the mare had been inseminated and said, "Oh my gosh, you won't believe how much they charged me for collection." And I said, well, how bad can it be? At the time, the average collection was between $175 to maybe $300 if you're really pushing it. Turns out they were charging her $750 to get the stallion collected. On top of it, she was in Canada, the stallion was in the US, so that was in US dollar for her, so way more expensive. And to add insult to injury, the mare did not catch on the first try. It was most of the most expensive breeding she had that year because of that collection fee. Third story, it was a year where I had bid on a stallion for a particular mare, and that mare ended up having some trouble foaling. We decided to give her the rest of the summer off to heal and recuperate, so we would not be breeding that year. So I contacted the stallion. I said, listen, I won the bid in the auction, but I really can't breed my mare this year. We decided to give her the year off. To which they said, hey, we totally get it. We're breeders ourselves. No problem. Contact us next year, like in January. Let us know that you're planning on breeding, and we will put her in the book for the stallion. Come January, I contact them because definitely I want to breed to that stallion. And I let them know, okay, I'm still interested in breeding to your stallion. Remember me from the auction? And they said, yeah, of course, but you owe us a booking fee for this year. Okay, how much is the booking fee? And it ended up being almost the same amount of money I had paid. Now, I had paid a really good price for that bid, so I was, okay with it, but it turns out I had no idea that I was going to pay an extra fee the following year just because I had basically extended the breeding contract. So, lesson learned. 2 more things to consider. If you are in Canada, make absolutely sure that the stallion owner knows what hoop they have to jump through to send semen to Canada, either fresh or frozen. There is some protocol and there's some procedure that they need in order to ship to Canada. Now, not all stallion owners will be able to accommodate that, so be absolutely sure, because while the association in the US will be happy to take your money, you will have no recourse if it ends up that your winning bid is to a stallion that cannot ship to Canada. The second thing is, if you are in the Warmbloods world, you might want to check if the stallion is activated with the registry of your choice. That means that, for example, if you want to register that upcoming foal with Westphalian, make sure that he's activated with them. Otherwise, you will have to pay an extra fee when it comes to the registration. It's not the end of the world. I've done it many times. It happens. To recap, what are the things we need to check in order to be able to place our bid with some amount of confidence? So number 1, check the availability. Is the stallion going to be available the whole breeding season? Is there some blackout date? Can you live with them? Second of all, make sure that the breeding contract that you are bidding on is for 1 year or 2. Is it limited? If it is for more than 1 year, what is the booking fee, if any, you will need to pay if you want to use that service the next year? And finally, make absolutely clear what are the costs associated with collecting that stallion. They vary greatly, and so you need to ask the stallion owner, what are those fees? Do they plan on changing collection place or vet that could change the fee? Make sure you know that, because it sometimes can end up being as much to collect the stallion and ship it to you as the bid that you've placed. Keep that in mind. If you are buying frozen semen, two things. If you're in Canada, make sure they have the paperwork to send you the semen to Canada. It's not obvious. It's not just like shipping any package. And second of all, if that semen is sitting in a tank in a breeding center or at a vet center, find out what the transfer fee will be, because there's a handling fee associated with just moving the straws from the storage container to the dry shipper. Talking about the dry shipper, find out how much it is to rent the thing. Unless you're sending your own, you're going to need to rent, and you need to know what those fees are. The stud fee still is usually the cheapest part of the breeding. Still, it's kind of nice to get a deal once in a while. If you want to know what are the other costs involved in breeding, go look at my video on the cost of AI.